This is a Namus entry for Star Gail Hurdy, or Star Gail Boomer as a nickname. She's been missing since 1999, and she's 39 to 39 years old. 57 years old now is how old she would be. And you can see a picture up here at the left corner. She's from Wyandotte County, Kansas. Let's just check the next page here. This is a sad case. On the evening of February 23rd, 1999, Miss Star Hurdy was a patron of Uncle Mike's Bar at 49th and Metropolitan in Kansas City, Kansas. Witnesses say she was involved in a violent altercation with a man believed to be a lifelong criminal with a history of violent behavior, especially towards women. At one point during the evening, Miss Hurdy allegedly was knocked to the ground, causing her to lose consciousness, and she has not been seen or heard since that date. So I'm not going to go through the whole Namus entry, but I will link it. I just want to get onto a couple of articles that are just staggering. I mean, I can't believe what happened. And I'll share that with you in just a second. Here we are on the Charley Project. Star Gail Boomer. And we see three images here. One here where she's a bit older, and I'd say this middle one is younger, and the last one is younger still. And it says, date missing, February 23rd, 1999 from Kansas City. She's listed as endangered missing. She's 39 years old at the date of going missing, between 5'4" and 5'5", 140 pounds. Caucasian female, blonde hair, blue eyes. Some agencies refer to Boomer by her maiden name, Hurdy. She has a rose tattooed on her chest, a bear tattooed on her outer ankle, and a partial barbed wire tattoo elsewhere on her body. And she was wearing a blue jean jacket, blue jeans, and sneakers. So let's get into the details of the disappearance, and this is where things get interesting. Boomer visited Uncle Mike's Bar, now called Nobodies Business, in the 4900 block of Metropolitan Avenue in Kansas City, Kansas, near her own residence, on February 23, 1999. She originally went there with a roommate, Carol Marshall. Marshall stated while they were in the bar, a male stranger walked up to Boomer and threw her off the bar stool for no apparent reason, without speaking to her. Boomer got up and insisted she was all right, and her attacker was forced to leave the establishment. Marshall left her, finishing her drink. She asked the bartender to keep an eye on Boomer, whom she planned to pick up later. When Marshall called the bar later that day, she was told Boomer had already left with two men. Boomer was carrying a purse with $80 cash at the time of her disappearance. She has never been heard from again. Marshall reported her missing 5 days later. So her friend's drinking and sees her get knocked off the bar stool for no reason. The person who knocks her over is made to leave. And her friend decides that she's going to leave the bar and tells the bartender to keep an eye on her. I'll be back to pick her up. When she calls, the woman had already left with two men. That's the first story she gets told. Witnesses of the establishment told authorities that she was involved in an altercation with another patron during the evening. The individual was believed to be a career criminal with a history of violent behavior toward women. He allegedly knocked her to the ground and beat her, causing her to lose consciousness. She has never been heard from again. Authorities believe she may have been murdered in the bar and her body hidden in another location. I mean, isn't that just insane? She's in this bar drinking. She gets beaten to the ground, and police actually think she was murdered in the establishment. In October 1999, two local men, William Eugene Gino Spradlin and Robert Franklin Butch Horn, were charged with second-degree murder in Boomer's case. A photograph of Horn was posted below in case summary. Okay, so this is his picture right here, Robert Horn. So Butch and Gino were charged in this crime. The murder charges were later dismissed because over a dozen witnesses to the alleged crime refused to testify against the defendants. So this bar was literally packed, and no one wants to say a word. Authorities believe that several people have information related to Boomer's case, but the individuals have not come forward. Curiously, one of the bar patrons who was a witness in Boomer's case was Shon Pernice. Shon's wife, Renee, disappeared in 2009, and in 2010, he was charged with her murder, although Renee's body has never been located. Okay, so this guy was there, and he has made a woman disappear that was his wife, or at least allegedly. He isn't considered a suspect in Boomer's case. However, he was questioned because he was a patron at the bar the night she disappeared. Now, this story is a little bit conflicted to other information that has been released. Boomer resided in 1700 block of South 49th Street in Kansas City in 1999. She was going through a divorce at the time of her disappearance and planned to move back in with her parents. She has 6 siblings. She had dropped out of Turner High School but was studying for a GED certificate and dreamed of becoming a florist. Boomer left behind a young son who was raised by his grandparents after her disappearance. Her case remains unsolved. Foul play is suspected in Boomer's disappearance due to the circumstances involved. And that's all the information we get off Charley's Project. I mean, that's quite a bit. So, I mean, she was in a bar drinking. Her friend saw her get knocked over. The person who did it was made to leave. Her friend leaves, calls back. She's gone. Later, they find out she was in a fight. 2 men are arrested. Their case is dropped. And another man in the bar is suspected because he had made his wife disappear almost 10 years later. Okay, so let's move on. You're looking at an article on Mothers Are Vanishing. Star Boomer, who is she and where is she? It is being reported that Shon Pernice of Kansas City, MO, is not only being questioned about his role in the disappearance of his wife, Renee Pernice, but now is linked to another missing mother, Star Boomer. Star Boomer has been missing since 1999, 10 years, and she left behind a son and a family that deserve the real truth and truthful answers. According to recent reports, Star Boomer was last seen during an altercation in a local bar. By all accounts, there were 13 witnesses who saw Star literally beaten unconscious. That's where the story of Star Boomer ends. No one is talking about what happened afterwards. Not one of the 13 witnesses have told authorities where to find Star Boomer after 10 long years. And now it's stated that Shon Pernice was one of the last persons to see her alive. So it goes to talk on a little bit more just about her and stuff, but I wanted to get down to this little bit here. Sources say that Star did not drink that much while in the bar, but went to the aid of another woman who was being physically beaten by another patron. Star was one of the only people to step up to help the woman, and later she was hit off her bar stool by a friend of the patron as he walked by and said something to her. She was knocked unconscious and dragged out of the bar. At this point, witnesses have said Shon Pernice injected her with something, and Star was never seen again. So, that's a little bit different than what we read in Charley Project. But if the other information came from her friend, what was said on Charley Project, how her friend seen her get knocked off the bar, and the other person was made to leave, then that information is probably more honest than what we're seeing here. But I just wanted to throw that in because it's just an interesting side information, but it's hard to tell what to make of it, to be honest. So let's move on. I've gone ahead and brought up Google. We're looking at the city of Kansas. On this red marker is 4901 Metropolitan Avenue. This is the location of Nobodies Business. At least I believe it's the same bar. So let's zoom in here and get a closer look. So this bar is located right here. And it says she didn't live far away. So I would say that she lived up in this area or down in here. Or, you know, just a short distance down the roads. And you can see up here in the left corner, under the search box here, this is a little blue establishment, is the area. This is all I could find for Nobody's Business in Kansas. And I deducted that from this Club Finder website. Nobody's Business, Kansas, 49100 Metropolitan Ave, Kansas City. And then it gives a postal code. So this right here is the bar I believe she was drinking at that night when she disappeared. Theory time. Star Gail Boomer was drinking in a bar with her friend Carolyn. Carolyn saw Star get knocked off a bar stool, but the man was forced to leave the establishment. Carolyn leaves and says she'll pick up her friend. Her friend is gone. Later rumors surface that 13 people were witness to Star get beaten and possibly killed and dragged out of the bar. So what happened to Star? Two men, Butch and Gino, were originally charged in her murder case, but the cases were dropped in fear of double jeopardy. It later came to surface that Shon Pernice, a man who possibly made his wife go missing 10 years later, was also drinking in the bar that night with Gail Boomer. So did the two men have anything to do with Gail's disappearance, Butch and Gino? Or was it actually Shon Pernice, the man who was later charged for murdering his own wife? Were Butch and Gino friends of Shon's, and did they help do something to Gail? Can the 13 witnesses who were drinking in the bar that night bring any information forward that would solve this case? This is all we know. And until we find out, no one will ever know what happened to Star.